My name's Dan. I'm 47, and I live just west of Chicago, in a suburb that looks stable from a distance. Rows of beige siding, trimmed lawns, wreaths on every door. But if you stand still long enough, if you actually listen, you'll hear the tension humming beneath it all. Behind every Merry Christmas, there's an unpaid bill. Behind every "How are you?" there's someone dying to scream. That's how I've lived these past 2 years. In a house built on smiles so polite they could strangle you. I married Maggie in October, 2 years back. Just a courthouse thing, quiet, quick, no honeymoon. We'd both been through enough, or at least that's what she said. She had a son, Jaden, 16 now, broad-shouldered, moody, always with one AirPod in. Never said, please, rarely said thanks. Never called me Dan. Just him, when talking to friends. He's here, if I walked into the room, as if I didn't already know how unwelcome I was. Still, I tried. God help me, I tried. When we met, Maggie was upside down on her mortgage. Her ex, the boy's father, had skipped out on the house and the payments. She worked retail back then. 5 days a week, sometimes 6. I stepped in, paid what was behind, put groceries in the fridge, put gas in her car. Didn't ask for anything but a seat at the table. Thought I'd earned it. Jaden was 12 when I came into the picture. 14 when I moved in. At first, he barely spoke. Then it turned into sarcasm. Nice shirt. When I wore something new. You cook like a lunch lady. When I made dinner. I laughed it off. Maggie would say, he's a teenager. It's normal. I wanted to believe her. I had to. Because the alternative was worse, that she saw it and didn't care. I paid for his new phone when his got stolen. I was the one driving 40 minutes across town to pick him up from practice. Twice a week, in traffic, no thanks given. I showed up at his parent-teacher conferences, even when I had to leave work early to do it. I smiled through the cold stares from teachers who still listed me as guardian. Unknown. When Jaden's grades slipped, I hired a tutor. When he got suspended for skipping class, I was the one in the principal's office, not his father. I remember sitting there, wearing my only good jacket, while Maggie stayed home because she couldn't deal with another lecture. I said, it's fine, I'll go. It always fell on me. The boy's father, his real dad, would show up every few months, drop a gift off, cash sometimes, or sneakers. Once, he brought concert tickets. Jaden posted about it on Instagram. The best. The real one. I saw it. I never said a word. Instead, I paid for new kitchen counters. Covered the down payment on the car Maggie needed when hers broke down. Took her mother to the hospital when she fell on ice. I thought that's what building a family looked like. Small, thankless tasks stacked into something solid. I didn't need applause. Just acknowledgement. A nod in my direction would have gone a long way. But December came fast that year. Christmas. Maggie wanted to host. Make it feel like home, she said. I spent 4 hours untangling lights. Bought a new tree. Not one of those skinny plastic ones, but a full spruce that made the living room smell like winter. I stayed up until 2 wrapping presents. Stuffed every stocking. Bought extra chairs for dinner. We invited her mother, her sister, some cousins, and a few neighbors. I made the turkey, cooked the stuffing myself. I remember thinking, maybe this year he'll say thank you. Just once. Maybe I'll sit down at that table and hear someone say, nice job, Dan. Maybe I'll feel like I belong. I was wrong. Dinner was late. Everyone was laughing, loud. Wine glasses filled. Music in the background. The table was packed. Kids, coats thrown over chairs. The smell of cinnamon and meat in the air. I waited for everyone to take a seat. Carved the bird myself. Stood the whole time while people filled their plates. One of the cousins asked, aren't you eating? I smiled. After you. Then I finally sat down, head of the table. No one said not to. No name cards. Just a seat. And that's when it happened. Jaden looked straight at me. His voice didn't shake. His fork hadn't even hit the plate yet. Get up, he said. My real dad's coming, that's his seat. It was loud enough for everyone to hear. Nobody spoke. I looked at Maggie first. Her mouth tightened, but she didn't move. Her eyes went to the turkey. Not to me. Not to him. Her sister glanced away, suddenly fascinated by her wine. The cousins stared at their plates. One of the neighbors muttered something under his breath and excused himself to the bathroom. I stood up. Slow. No yelling. No dramatic exit. I just backed away. Stepped on the rug, lost my balance and went down hard. My elbow hit the wood. My knee bent the wrong way. The chair fell beside me with a clatter. Nobody helped me up. Jaden didn't blink. Maggie didn't reach out. Her mother just kept chewing. The silence wasn't quiet. It screamed. It screamed louder than any argument. Louder than a door slammed shut. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't family. I was furniture. Something useful until it made noise. I got up by myself, fixed the chair, wiped my hands on a napkin and stepped into the hallway. No one followed. I could still hear the laughter return 10 seconds after I left. I stood there, just outside the glow of the dining room, and listened to the sound of people moving on without me. That's when I remembered every bill, every ride, every grocery run. The time I drove Jaden to the ER when he broke his wrist. Maggie was working, and his dad didn't pick up. I remembered standing in the waiting room at midnight, filling out forms while he played games on my phone. No thank you after that either. I remembered being the only one to show up at his last game, the one where they lost by 30 points. His dad said he was busy. I still brought pizza, still clapped from the bleachers. I remembered Maggie's words from 6 months ago, when I'd said Jaden had crossed a line after cussing at me. He's a teenager. They all do that. You need to stop taking it personally. But how do you not take it personally when the cuts are aimed just for you? That night, I lay in bed beside her and she never even brought it up. Didn't mention the fall. Didn't mention the seat. She just asked, "Did you put the leftovers away?" Like that was the only thing I'd done wrong. Forget the food. So I stared at the ceiling for hours, hands tight on the blanket, teeth clenched. I didn't cry. I'm not that man. But I felt something slip inside me. Something old. Something I'd been holding together with tape and patience. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that this house didn't have a place for me anymore. Not a real one. Just a seat I could borrow until the real man arrived. I woke up the next morning before sunrise. Quiet house. Cold floors. The scent of cinnamon still clinging to the air like perfume on someone who's already walked out of your life. I moved slow. My back ached from the fall, knees stiff, like my body was making sure I remembered every second of humiliation. I didn't need the reminder. It had looped all night in my mind like a cruel recording. Get up. My dad's sitting there. The tone, the eyes, the silence after. No stammer, no hesitation. Just truth spoken by someone who saw no reason to lie anymore. The kitchen was a mess. Empty wine bottles, half-full glasses, crusted serving spoons abandoned like tools in a disaster zone. Maggie had gone to bed early. Or maybe she just left the party before me. Either way, she didn't check if I was okay. Didn't ask why I never came back to the table. Didn't even glance at the bruises I took to bed. I cleaned the kitchen. Slowly. Deliberately. One plate at a time. One fork. One cup. Like I was erasing the scene of a crime I didn't commit but had to answer for anyway. I could hear Jaden snoring from upstairs. His room always a little too loud. Music still playing from a speaker he never turned off. That boy never learned the cost of things. Why would he? I paid every one of them. I brewed coffee, stared out the window, watched the sun rise behind the neighbor's bare maple tree. And something hardened inside me. Not anger. Not quite. Something colder. Something older. Like a breath I hadn't released in years finally reached the bottom of my lungs. I walked into the living room where the gifts were still piled under the tree. Color-coded wrapping paper. Stockings still full. A new console, 3 games, wireless headphones, a pair of Jordan 4s in his size. Everything he'd circled on his list. Everything I'd worked overtime for. I picked up each one and carefully, without a sound, carried them to the trunk of my car. Not rushed. Not sneaky. Just precise. Like packing a suitcase for someone leaving your house, even if they didn't know it yet. I left one thing behind. An envelope. Plain. No bow. No glitter. Just words, written in my hand. No one should feel unwanted in the house they helped pay for, especially on the day they paid for all of it. From nobody. I tucked it behind the pine garland on the mantel. Dead center. Where everyone would see it but no one could ignore it. By the time the rest of the house stirred, I was already in the garage, tightening the last strap on the trunk. Maggie wandered out in a robe, blinking like she'd just woken from a good dream, not a broken one. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice soft but flat, like a default setting. "Just getting some air," I said. That was true enough. Jaden came down an hour later. I heard his footsteps rush to the tree like a child half his age. He tore through boxes, confused, looked under the table, behind the couch. Then I heard the rustle of the envelope. Silence. Then his voice, sharp and cracking, shot through the house. "Mom, where are my presents?" Maggie called back from the hallway. "Dan handled them." That's when the fuse lit. He stomped into the kitchen, face red, chest puffed up. "Tell him to bring them back," he barked. "He has to. It's Christmas." I didn't look at him. I didn't answer. I just kept sipping my coffee. Folded the paper. Turned the page. "Are you hearing me?" he shouted. "Tell him." Maggie looked at me. That was the moment, the real moment. The test. She looked at me, then at him, then down. Just like last night. No defense. No correction. "No, Jaden, that's enough. No, he paid for those gifts and you'll speak to him with respect." Nothing. She just stood there, still, like someone caught in the act of being small. And for the first time in that house, I saw her for what she was. Not blind, not caught in the middle, just complicit. She let him talk to me like that. She let him push me out of my seat, out of my own table, out of fatherhood. And she let it happen again now, with the same silence, the same shrug. And that's when I made the real decision. Not with rage, not with noise, but with clarity. They were welcome to their real man. The one who forgets birthdays, forgets to call, forgets to show up, but never forgets to steal the credit. Let him buy their sneakers. Let him drive 40 minutes through snow to pick up his son from school. Let him pay for college, braces, rides, Wi-Fi, the new fence, the Christmas turkey, the gas bill, the second bathroom remodel Maggie said we needed last spring. Let him do it all. Because I was done. That evening, Maggie and Jaden got dressed and left to see him, the biological one. The one Jaden made room for at the head of the table. Maggie didn't say where they were going. She didn't have to. I didn't ask. I just nodded, sipped my coffee again, and let the door close behind them like a slow farewell. They came back 3 hours later. I heard the door unlock, heard the snow shake off their boots. No laughter, no music, just silence. Jaden's eyes were red. Maggie looked different. Her expression wasn't angry, wasn't even tired. It was blank, like someone had opened a door and let all the heat out of her soul. I didn't ask what happened, but I didn't have to. Later, I'd hear it from her sister. The real father had no gifts, no dinner, no tree, no heat, just a stained mattress, some empty beer cans, and a space heater blowing dust in a corner. He opened the door drunk, wearing one sock, and didn't even recognize Jaden at first. That was the man he saved a seat for. I said nothing. Jaden didn't speak to me after that. Not an apology, not a thank you, just quiet. The sarcasm vanished. No more sneers, no more side eyes, but also no warmth, just absence. Like something in him had broken and he didn't know how to fix it, so he blamed the nearest crack. Maggie began staying late at work. Said she had meetings. A few nights she didn't come home at all. Needed space, she said. To think. I didn't ask what she was thinking about. I already knew. By the end of that week, I opened a new bank account. Quietly, shifted my direct deposit, canceled every joint bill, took my name off the utilities, spoke to a lawyer about the mortgage, transferred full ownership to her, let her have the house, the walls, the furniture, the rug that caught my fall. Let her have it all. I moved into the upstairs guest room. Packed light, just the essentials. Boxed up my tools. Put my name on the charger cords. Little things. Quiet things. But final. I didn't leave that day, but I started walking out. And the most damning part? They didn't even notice. January brought the cold. Not the kind you dress for, but the kind that lives in the walls. You could feel it under the carpet, in the breath between conversations, in the hum of the empty house. The holidays were over. Decorations packed up. Tree dragged to the curb. Only thing left was the tension, and it hung like smoke. I stayed upstairs. Not because I had to, because I wanted them to feel it. Maggie never asked why. She never asked why the checking account didn't update anymore. Why her car insurance suddenly bounced. Why the Netflix password changed. Just small things at first. Quiet reminders. She didn't ask because deep down she already knew. The provider had gone quiet. Jaden still didn't speak. Not directly. I'd hear him on calls in his room. Hear the frustration growing when things didn't work. The Xbox I bought him? Offline. The Spotify premium account? Cancelled. The sneakers he never thanked me for? Still by the door, but dirtier now, like they no longer had to pretend to walk a straight line. On the 15th, the mortgage payment was due. Maggie called me at work. First time in 2 weeks. They said the account's frozen, she whispered. It's not frozen, I said. It's just not mine anymore. A pause. You can't just do that. I didn't just do it, I said. I did it carefully. She didn't respond. That night she tried to play normal. Made pasta. Set 2 plates. Poured 2 glasses of wine. We sat in silence for 20 minutes. Jaden never came down. Halfway through, she tried to ask me about my day. I looked at her. Not with anger, just distance. Like I was watching a rerun of someone I used to love. You don't need to pretend, I said. We're not coming back from this. Her lip twitched. You think it's that simple? No, I said. I think it's that final. Another silence. Then, quieter. He's just a kid. He's old enough to know what respect looks like. She didn't argue. Just stirred her food with a fork she never lifted. The next morning I made it official. Took my name off the deed. Told her she had 60 days to refinance or sell. I wasn't rushing her. But I wasn't staying either. I'd already found an apartment. Not big. Not fancy. Just enough. A place where silence felt like peace, not punishment. That night, I slept without the sound of footsteps above me. No music. No whispers. No doors slamming. The quiet didn't feel empty anymore. Felt earned. Week by week, the cracks widened. Maggie missed a payment on the gas bill. Called me again. This time, her voice wasn't angry. It was uncertain. Like she was just realizing the load I used to carry without complaint. I just need a little help, she said. I've already helped, I replied. For 2 years. With everything. But this is now. No, I said. This is the cost of then. She didn't call again after that. But Jaden did. One night out of nowhere. I was sitting on the floor of my new place, eating a burger from a takeout bag, watching a movie I hadn't seen since college. My phone lit up. Jaden. I didn't answer. Let it ring. He called again. Then again. Then he texted. I need money. For books. They raised the school fee. Mom says you're being petty. I let the words sit there. Then I typed 1 sentence back. Ask the man whose seat I gave up. No reply. A week later, I ran into Maggie at the store. She looked thinner. Tired. Makeup didn't hide the stress anymore. She asked how I was. I sleep now, I said. That's new. She tried to smile. He misses you. No, I said. He misses what I did. That one landed. She didn't deny it. Just nodded. Then said the quiet part out loud. I didn't think it would fall apart this fast. You thought I was furniture, I said. People don't notice when furniture leaves the room. Just when they don't have anywhere to sit. I walked away. 3 weeks later, Maggie emailed. Not texted. Not called. Emailed. Like a stranger. It was long. Formal. apologetic in places, defensive in others. She wrote about stress, about pressure, about how blended families are hard, and Jaden didn't mean it, and we all said things in the moment. I read it once, then deleted it, not out of anger, just because it didn't change anything. Jaden called one more time. This time he left a voicemail. His voice was quieter, still guarded, but not cruel. "I was a jerk," he said. "You didn't deserve that." Then, after a pause, "You were there, when he wasn't. I get it now. I really do." I saved the voicemail, but I didn't call back, because truth is, regret isn't respect. And saying, "You were there" isn't the same as saying, "You mattered." Not when it's this late. In February, the school called Maggie. Told her they'd withhold Jaden's diploma unless final fees were paid. She emailed me again. Not to ask, to inform. To imply. "He's struggling," she wrote. "I hope you still care." I never replied. Because I did care for years. Cared with my wallet. With my time. With my hands. With my patience. And every time I did, I was met with silence or worse. They only missed me when the lights dimmed. When the water got cold. When the truck didn't start. When the holidays came, and no one was there to cook. That's not love. That's utility. They didn't lose a father. They lost an income. And I didn't lose a family. I lost people who never tried to be one. The snow melted, but the thaw never reached the people who once called me family. The grass turned green. The daffodils poked their heads through the soil like nothing had happened. Like the ground hadn't frozen and cracked beneath our feet. But I knew better. Some winters don't end, they just move indoors. By March, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment above a dentist's office. Beige walls, weak water pressure, no dishwasher. But it was mine. Mine in a way that house never was. No footsteps overhead. No whispers behind doors. No half-glances over dinner. Just my own breath in my own space, echoing off furniture I paid for and chose myself. Maggie never showed up. Not once. Not with tears. Not with promises. Not with explanations. She let the whole thing die in silence, the same silence that started it all. I used to think silence was neutral. Pause between storms. Now I know it's where cowards live. It's where people go when they don't want to be responsible for the pain they cause. Jaden graduated without ceremony. Not because of me, because of him. He scraped together enough to pay off the fees. Not through work, not through his father, but through Maggie. She took out a personal loan. She didn't tell me. I heard it from her sister. Said she was embarrassed. Said she thought it would be easier this way. Funny how many decisions get made for the sake of ease, even the ones that ruin people. I still had the voicemail. The one Jaden left. Still played it, sometimes just to remind myself how much a person can say without really saying anything. "I was a jerk," he said. That part stuck with me. He didn't call himself cruel. He didn't say sorry for what he said. Just for how he said it. No mention of Christmas. No mention of the fall. No mention of the years before it. The ones filled with new backpacks, late-night pickups, gas money, birthday cakes, orthodontist bills, and holidays where the only man present was the one who didn't matter. I kept that voicemail not for comfort, but for clarity. Because I needed to remember. Needed to remember what it felt like to give everything, and be dismissed with one sentence. "You're not my real dad." You know what people don't talk about? How fast a house forgets you. Not just the people, the house itself. I drove past it once in April, just out of habit. Maggie had painted the shutters. Took down the porch swing I'd installed the first summer. Even the numbers on the mailbox were different. Like my existence was an inconvenience she'd scrubbed out with Windex and sandpaper. Jaden's car was still parked out front. Same dent in the bumper. Same sticker on the window. A band I never liked, but pretended to. I didn't stop. Didn't even slow down. It wasn't my house anymore. Maybe it never was. I used to think sacrifice was a kind of currency, that if you paid enough, people would see you. That effort earned love. That presence replaced blood. But it doesn't. Not always. Sometimes, effort is invisible. Sometimes, love is taken like oxygen, expected, unnoticed, unearned. And sometimes, being there just makes you the backdrop to someone else's fantasy. Maggie wanted a partner who stayed. Jaden wanted a father who left so he could miss him romantically. And me? I just wanted to be valued before I had to vanish. There's a kind of rot that sets in when you keep choosing people who wouldn't cross the street for you. A moral sickness. You start convincing yourself that endurance is virtue, that being useful is enough, that holding it all together is its own reward. But it's not. All it makes you is quiet, tired, and slowly erased. I haven't spoken to either of them since that spring. Not once. I changed my number in June, closed the joint credit account, sold the truck and bought something smaller, started buying groceries for one, laundry for one, silence for one, and I've never felt more human. There's a difference between loneliness and peace. Peace is quiet with a lock on the door. Loneliness is quiet with someone sleeping beside you who hopes you never speak. I lived the second for too long. Now I live the first, and it's better. You know what they say about hindsight, that it's a mirror, that it shows you the truth you couldn't see when you were too busy surviving. So here's what I see now. I see a man who gave too much to people who gave nothing back. I see a boy who confused presence with punishment, who thought calling someone real made it so. I see a woman who kept the peace by feeding her silence to both sides, then acted shocked when one of them walked away hungry. And I see myself, not bitter, not angry, but clear. Clear about what I am not. I am not disposable. I am not invisible. I am not a stand-in for the man who left. I am not the punching bag for someone else's unresolved grief. I am not the one who will beg to be respected. I am not, and never again will be, convenient. There's one last thing I want to say. To the ones who read this and feel that knot in their throat, that deep ache of recognition. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're not weak for walking away. There is no honor in carrying a family that calls you furniture. There is no dignity in funding your own erasure. If you are the man who shows up, who pays the bills, who tucks in the kids someone else left behind, and you're still treated like an accessory to their pain, stop. You can't heal people who enjoy bleeding. You can't save a house that refuses to name you as part of its foundation. Let it fall. Let the silence speak. Let your absence be louder than their ingratitude. That's what I did. And for the first time in years, I'm not looking for a seat at someone else's table. I've built my own. So now I ask you, whoever you are, wherever you're reading this from, would you have stayed? Would you have kept pouring into people who looked past you? Would you have let the boy who never thanked you speak the final truth of your worth? Or would you have done what I did? Stepped back, watched them scramble when the chair went empty, and walked away, not because you were angry, but because finally, you knew what you were worth.